Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Jimmy. Thank you for joining me today. I have the xt2 in my hands. If you have a similar mirrorless camera by the Fuji line, go ahead and follow along in today's video. Today we'll be going over 3 small tips that I feel will make your user experience more fun. And we have the grid, the EVF Auto brightness, and Auto Rotate displays. Let's go over that right now. Let's begin with the first tip. The first tip is installing the grid on your camera. As you can see here, there isn't a grid on there. The grid is important because it can help you with creativity in composing your shots, especially if you're just starting out with the 1/3 rule. However, if you are an experienced shooter, sometimes you can get in a rut. I found that having a grid can spark creativity just enough where it can get you going. So let's go here. Press menu and you want to adjust something on your screen, right? So press the left arrow so you can navigate this column and go down to the wrench. The wrench is the overall camera setting, and go to screen setup. Now you can press the right arrow here because we're trying to adjust something with the screen. Press the right arrow and go down until you see here that number 1 of 3. That means there's 3 pages to this section, a lot of pages, right? Go down to the second page here, 2 out of 3. Now you see framing guideline. Press the right arrow. You can choose between grid 9, grid 24, or HD framing. I choose grid 9. Press menu OK, and you've now selected that icon to be there. Press the shutter button, okay, and go ahead and take a picture. That's really weird. There is no grid there. How interesting, right? Now this is why I want people to watch these videos, and I want to give you guys more wisdom as I can. Why didn't the grid show up? Well, that's really weird. Let's press menu again and figure out why. Press the left arrow to navigate this column, go down to the wrench, press the right arrow, go to screen setup, and just double check here on page 2 of 3, the framing guideline is still there. That's okay, right? So then go down to display custom setting here. Display custom setting shows you what shows up on your screen. So this is actually counteracting the fact that I want a grid. What a pain. It's unchecked. No wonder it's not showing up, right? So some of you guys may have tried to use the grid and go like, it doesn't work, forget it. No, here's a way to go ahead and fix that. Check framing guideline, press the shutter button, and now you're ready to take a shot with the grid. Do you see that? There's 1, 2, 3. If you want to learn how to use the rule of thirds when you're shooting photography, it's not a go-to rule all the time. It's not something that can't be broken. It's definitely a very fluid rule. We'll get into another video on my thoughts on it. Now, another quick thing here, press the display back button, and you see here that nothing is here now. It's a very clean display. When I press the shutter button to focus, you notice that everything shows up again, including the grid. Yeah. Press display back to go to this informational screen, and press it again to go back to where we started. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is EVF Auto. EVF is right there. This is the EVF, the electronic viewfinder. It's the place where your eye goes to look inside this very roomy, very bright place to make sure your pictures are composed. You can use the LCD or you can use the EVF. Press menu here to follow along. Press the left arrow and go down to the wrench. Press the right arrow, go to screen setup here. If you notice here, there's something called EVF brightness. Now you can mess around with this, and I recommend you experimenting with it, but I have found that leaving it on auto is the best thing to do. You could go to manual and adjust the actual brightness of the EVF in here. You won't see it here. You'll see it in here. It gets pretty bright inside. You can leave it at 0 if you want to, but as you can see, it's telling you to look through the EVF, okay? Or you can go to EVF and just leave it on auto. Depending on what conditions are on the outside, it will adjust accordingly, varying slightly in terms of how bright or how dark you need it on the inside based on its algorithm, right? So I recommend leaving it on auto. Fun fact, for the EVF color, LCD brightness, LCD color, those do not have auto settings. So you have to adjust those as to how you see fit. But the EVF has an auto setting. So I recommend using that. That is my second tip. Here is the third tip, auto rotate displays. Let me show you what I mean. Look at this. These are the display markings here that we've included to kind of give us our bearings when we take a picture. We can actually have that adjusted. Let me show you. Press menu, press the left arrow to go where? To the screen setup, right? Because we're changing something with the screen. Press the right arrow, press screen setup here, and you'll see auto rotate displays. Currently, it's off. Let me show you what happens when I turn it on. I press the right arrow and now I'm selecting on here. Auto rotate displays is now on. Half press the shutter button there to go here. If I rotate my camera, do you see the display markings have now changed over to match portrait mode? Look again, it goes back to landscape mode. If I press menu and go back to the wrench, I can go to screen setup and go to auto rotate displays. I can turn it off if I don't like that. And now half press the shutter button again. And watch what happens. When I turn it portrait, they do not move. They stay stationary. And just so you guys know, the auto rotate displays also affects what you see in the EVF. If you turn it on its portrait side or in landscape mode, you will see the displays also flip inside here as well. So that can help you if you tend to flip around a lot, which I tend to do. It's a cool thing to have. You might as well have it flip around with you and move along with your preferences. Now again, if you go to display back here, press this button with your right hand, you can have it go away completely at any time you wish. So if you want that really high-tech look here, just go to your first display back, press it again to have it really cleaned up. Okay, I hope this helps you guys. I'll see you next time for another 3-tip video. Bye-bye.